Hello, in this video, I'm going to discuss what is environmental education and why that is important. Of course, we have several education systems. We have physical education, we have financial education, we have health education, we have a number of education streams that are there. Now, all of these streams or branches of education do have their own rationale that why they are important. Now, environmental education, according to the Environmental Protection Agency in the US, it says that environmental education is a process that allows individuals to explore environmental issues, engage in problem solving, and take action to improve the environment. As a result, individuals develop a deeper understanding of environmental issues and have the skills to make informed and responsible decisions. Now, of course, environment has been part of the philosophy since time and in memorial. Indigenous and original communities in most part of the world have engaged and sustained most part of the planet in most part of the world in a sustainable way. So from their philosophies to, of course, then comes a number of religions actually that engaged seriously with environment, and then comes, of course, modern ideas of environment. So we have several branches, philosophical thoughts about environment. Of course, I'm not going to get into them and how do they think about environment and environmental education. I just want to get into some of the indicators, some of the statistics that shows that why our environmental education in the modern world has been disastrous because of the ways in which what we have done to our environment globally and locally. So now, first of all, if we talk about the species extinction, of course, we Homo sapiens sapien, who is known as the wise human, is just only one recent species that appear on Earth in the longer history of history of life, history of Earth, history of the planets. Yeah, and that we have been able to successfully extinct unprecedented number of other species, and we have been the only such species in the history of life. So various scientific estimates suggest that the current rate of species extinction, which is we as a species cause extinction of another species through our activities now that are branched out as or industrial activity or deforestation or polluting of the sea, polluting of the water, polluting of the environment, earth, and so on. Yeah. So this process is called as species extinction, is between 1,000 and 10,000 times higher than the natural background rate of extinction. Now, of course, there has been so-called natural extinctions previously, but the kind of extinction that we cause is anywhere between 1,000 to 10,000 times higher, which is, of course, one of the most alarming signals that shows that why and how our environmental education has been flawed or has not been in a proper way. Of course, we all know about global warming and climate change. Now, what is global warming and climate change? Of course, significantly since the industrial revolution, the ways in which how not only atmospheric carbon but methane but also a number of other indicators have exponentially increased in the planet due to or primarily our industrial activity. Now, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, UN's intergovernmental body that study anthropogenic climate change, the climate change caused by human beings, estimates that the global temperature could rise by 1.5 degree to 4.5 degrees Celsius by the end of this century if we continue the current trend of greenhouse gas emissions. Now, when we talk about 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, these might sound just as numbers, but when we talk about slightest degrees of changes in this, we are talking about life and livelihood of not only human but also massive other species who are there in most part of the planet that are particularly vulnerable to climate change. So the ways in which how we have been a cause of climate change is again significantly another second example or an indicator that shows that why our environmental education has been flawed. Now, the rate of deforestation, of course, forest is very integral and essential for the sustenance of all life on Earth. Now, it's estimated that around 18 million acres of forest, which is an area roughly the size of the Panama, are lost each year due to just only logging, agriculture, and urban development. Now, the rest of the loss is not part of this calculations. So, which means this is the unprecedented rate of deforestation that we are causing. Now, ocean acidification. Now, ocean acidification. Now, ocean, of course, is very central part of the sustenance of most species. That includes us as well. Now, the world's oceans have become approximately 30% more acidic since the Industrial Revolution, 30% more acidic. And the projections indicate that acidity levels increase by 100 to 150 percentages by the degree of CO2 if the same rate in which we continue to emit CO2. Now, plastic pollution. Now, plastic pollution estimates suggest that approximately 8 million metric tons of plastic enter oceans each year. And I'm sure you must have noticed some of the new medical science studies that came out, which suggest that all of us, all the human beings on Earth now have microplastics as part of their body now. This is, of course, something very alarming for not only for the health of human beings, but also largely for the health of the planet and other species. Now, if you look at the loss of wetlands, if you look at the pollution that includes air pollution, for example, particularly like countries in South Asia that includes India, Pakistan, do have the most highest number of most polluted cities in the world, for example. Now, so you have multiple kind of pollutions, and that causes death and destruction not only for human beings but also for most other species. If we also look at the decline of coral reef, now of course coral reefs, Amazon forests, and some of these are the most important parts that not only contributes immensely for the sustenance of other species but also the sustenance of the planet Earth itself in that sense. So the rate of coral reefs decline has been around so the estimates suggest that over 70% of the world's coral reefs are currently threatened with climate change, overfishing, and pollution contributing to their degradation. Now, these are some of the fundamental indicators that kind of show that how and why our environmental education that happens in our schools or universities or media and so on, or most of the sources, systems, institutions from where we get educated from childhood to now are not sufficient, or they are not contributing to the positive environmental education. Now, what is the kind of environmental education that I believe in, or what do we need to secure the sustainability of this planet? Now, one of the fundamental component that I understand is that we can't have exponential economic growth for all time. Now, economic growth and some of the indicators of economic growth like GDP or growth or development, the ways in which how these concepts or these ideas or these imaginations have caught our mind or civilization as such since the industrial revolution or even before that, is that we can have exponential continued economic progress. Now this is a false idea. Now most of our development, most of our progress, most of our GDP and other economic developmental numbers have come from only looting or extracting natural resources. Now these resources are of course not for free, and these natural resources are not the free raw materials for industries, for companies, for business to use. They are part and parcel of a planet that have evolved here for billions of years, and within that these are fundamental parts of the planet that sustains this particular system in itself. So at the moment we look at them as economies, as profit, as GDP, as growth, as development in absolute terms, we are making a fundamental mistake. The growth and the development can only be proper and sustainable only when it is also protecting the nature, environment, and this planet. Now that is the kind of growth, that is the kind of development, that is the kind of ideas of progress that we have to have. Now secondly, our existence, that means the existence of human beings, Homo sapiens sapien, and the existence of other species, other thousands of species are interconnected, and we cannot exist in isolation. Now, for example, if you just think about only the honeybees or the bee in that sense, now if bees are no more there in our planet, now that's going to seriously challenge the food production of not only for us but also for most of the other species. Now that is the significance of just one insignificant that we think as a species as bee. Okay, so we cannot sustain or we cannot go ahead, we cannot progress without the existence of all other species that have existed here even before us. Yeah, so that is the only way where we underscore, where we understand, and that our existence is just a part of the web of life forms that have evolved here, and all of that life forms do have a role to play in the sustainability of this planet, and all of us are interconnected. And thirdly, the rate of destruction that has been caused is unprecedented. So the action to undo this destruction has to also be unprecedented in that sense. So I'm talking about the ways in which how we have destructed our environment, and I have spoke about some of the scales in which I have kind of measured that. And to undo that, the kind of action that we need now, this action is local to global to planetary action and beyond. And such action can only undo the kind of destruction that we have caused in terms of the species extinction, in terms of ocean acidification, in terms of climate change, in terms of plastic pollution, in terms of loss of biodiversity, loss of wetland, pollution, coral reef, Amazon forest, Himalayas, and thousands of other things that we have done. So all of these destructions need unprecedented, collective, massive, immediate action from us. Now, we need to conserve and protect environment. Now, that protection action will come from individuals, from communities globally. Now, that also means that state or organizations like UN. Now, we have to have individual to community action, collective action. Of course, I am not only an advocate of an individual action in terms of the environmental protection, but also global, planetary, large-scale actions that we need at this immediate hour to protect the environment. Now, our schools and our universities or colleges or education systems or media is not predominantly teaching this. Of course, there are very different groups. For example, there are thousands of groups of the indigenous people around the world who have been teaching their wisdom to conserve environment, to protect biodiversity, to protect the environment and the planet Earth that we are in. But we have not paid our attention towards that. Now, similarly, there are n number of these kind of people, groups, communities who have been propagating, advocating for positive, effective environmental education and environmental action, to which we have not paid attention to. Now, the mainstream education system, the mainstream university system, the mainstream college and other education systems that include media, so on, have not been able to do this either. Now, that is the reason, the kind of crisis that we are in. So we are part of the environment. So the kind of education that we need, that should be able to teach us that we are part of the environment. Environment is not something outside of us. Environment is not something that we go into. We are part of the environment and we belong to the environment. If we distract, if we destroy the environment, and that is the beginning of the destruction of we as a species and also thousands of other species, and that is also the beginning of the destruction of this planet that have evolved in one of the unprecedented ways in millions and billions of years here. And the kind of destruction that we are causing is that. So this is the kind of environmental education that we need. And there are thousands of groups, if not thousands, of course, there are hundreds of groups who are doing this. There are individuals who are doing this, and I hope to bring you all those in the following weeks and following months in my channel.